A familiar sight on the island of Prek Chrey, Cambodia. For generations, the women of this small community have been using time-honored traditions to produce one-of-a-kind organza silk. It is the only community in all of Cambodia that makes its living in this particular way. For the women of this village, weaving is a way of life, one that allows them to work from home and care for their families. But their culture is in danger. Prek Chrey's nearby but vastly different neighboring city is Phnom Penh. Once known as the Pearl of Asia, Phnom Penh is the country's capital and magnet for all local populations. Work and a chance for modern life attracts the rural villagers away from home, most often never to return. Rising from the ashes of its past, Phnom Penh holds the promise of the 21st century to a country long in suffering. Home to 15 million people, the Kingdom of Cambodia owns one of the richest and most tragic histories. The Khmer or Cambodian Empire stretched into much of modern-day Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Today, Cambodia is a major tourist destination, but not long ago, it was a nation in ruins. Decades of war and internal conflict left Cambodia one of the world's poorest countries. A young democratic government is still trying to pick up the pieces left from the Khmer Rouge. Promising the end of U.S. imperialism, in 1975 the Khmer Rouge came to power under its leader, Pol Pot, and orchestrated a genocide that would see 1/4 of its population murdered. The educated, religious, wealthy, and unimpressionable were rounded up and murdered in gross numbers at over 20,000 known killing fields, leaving the country beaten and uneducated. The impact of the Khmer Rouge's reign is felt everywhere. A lack of education and training skills have left the Cambodian people vulnerable, with inadequate employment opportunities, poor health, and low infrastructure. It is a delicate time for Cambodia. At the epicenter of the world's globalization boom, the country's unique culture and future are in jeopardy. Like many other places in Cambodia, the villagers of Prek Chrey are at a crossroad. If they are unable to sustain their way of life, they are left with the choice of moving to the city and abandoning their traditions, or to struggle in sheer poverty. The organza silk weaving native to this village could be their way to not just survive, but prosper.
Nhâm mua giò à lấy học bay ấy con from môi nè pro bay sợi bay cha cua xá slap tăng pi nhom mà dụ 35 năm à lấy cả hai chi xa thay 7 năm rồi cả nghề nó chập đám và hai chi châu 5-10 năm ấy nó cho thơ chặt bên nông mau là hậu tôi lấy nó tới thấy nhom đá con nhom nó ban nhom chết à nên xa ta nó ngay tăng vì nhom chặt một là bò nó tới đi tha bà cào thì nhom cái sạch miền tây tình tây đó nằm bên rục nia đó.
For Madame Yong, an opportunity came when a Western social business saw their unique products and sought out a way to bring attention to the village's one-of-a-kind export.
My name is Zsuzsa Hutton and I'm the founder of OlaRe. We work with the silk weavers and artisans in Cambodia. We market and sell these products in Europe. The ambition of OlaRe is to secure regular income to as many women as possible working with silk. I'm often asked, how are we different from the others? The way we are different is because we don't employ people directly. We are not becoming the big boss who tells them everything how to do. It's a more organic improvement. They gradually, within their own means, get to a higher level, and we give the necessary input to help them to get there. Most of them, this is their main activity, but given they work in their own community, their own families, they take care of their children, they pay attention to the elderly, they do the household work, they do the cooking and all other household-related activities. Women are the glue. The moment you put women into factories far away from their community, their families, this function is lost. My challenge is, can we find a way to keep these people doing what they are doing, improve a bit the quality and the design, and find a way to channel these products to the global market.
My name's Richard Walden, and in 1979 I founded an organization called Operation USA, and basically our mission is to provide disaster relief and longer-term development projects that grow out of the disaster or grow out of a long-term condition of endemic poverty in a country, where we'll go in and take a look and we'll try to figure out small projects that we can use as models to larger groups. At some point, every group of villagers needs an advocate who can function at a higher level in the civic life or political life of these provinces, cities, countries, whatever. But after that, it's local, it's local.
My name is Jomnap. I am working for Khmer Seal Village since 2006. Khmer Seal Village is an association to support to the weaving community and seal farmer producer around Cambodia. And we support those weavers and the farmer in terms of technical assistance and marketing. We have a challenge, especially compared to other countries, as our country is a bit slow in technology, so everything is just handmade, and from the beginning of the process until the finished product. And for sure, handmade product is a bit expensive compared to other countries that they process their product by machine, and they can produce a lot and with a cheap price. So this is our main challenge.
Basically, you support the income earning activity of 6 to 7 people in the chain. If it was all machine, you would probably support the one person. Moving to machinery, to factories, leads to lower and lower prices. We have to ask ourselves the questions, until what point this decrease in price is actually beneficial for society, for the environment, for sustainability overall.
The economic part of me, the consumer part of me, is probably happy that Walmart is able to charge $9.97 for something I used to pay $19.97 for. But at the same time, I'm trying to be considerate to a point of where that shirt was made. And if that shirt was made in Bangladesh, great. I'm glad Bangladeshis have a job. But if it was made with child labor, under sweatshop conditions, that occasionally a factory collapse kills 1,000 people, then my economic action of buying the shirt takes on a moral tone. The alternative to the sweatshop factory is the individual or the group of individuals using looms to make handicrafts and clothing that will pay an equivalent or better, hopefully better, wage. The question is, if the market is flat, what happens to these rural women? And the temptation is to take the salary of a factory in urban or semi-urban areas. And that draws a lot of, especially younger women, out of the rural areas. So you're left with older women doing the looms. And so what happens to the people who produce these beautiful silks when they get older?
And do they after that, do some people come back to the village, or once they go, they never come back?
It's imperative for the survival of Prek Chrey that the villagers don't lose a generation of women to the city. If this happens, an important link between Prek Chrey's continuing development will be broken.
My name is Meg Jones and I run the Women and Trade program at the International Trade Centre. Women are the link between trade and development. Here at the International Trade Centre, we're all about connecting small and medium-sized enterprises to export opportunities. And so the reason that we do that through the Women and Trade program is because when women's income increases, they spend more on the health and education of children, which in turn is of course good for the family, good for the community. In terms of increasing exports, it's good for economic growth. But once again, that investment in the family is what breaks intergenerational poverty. So therefore, investing in women is a big investment in the future.
The whole idea here is propagating. It's not propagating one company or one website stuff, but being a model that other people can follow.
It's important that as Cambodia and other countries begin to reap the benefits of global trade, that the wealth is equally distributed, so as not to leave out the people that need it most.
The fruits of globalization are very unequally distributed. Within countries, we see a widening of inequality. So there are some groups in countries which really profit or can grapple with globalization, but often poorer people, because they're not yet in those trade streams or capital streams, they often profit less from globalization, or sometimes even their situation could get worse.
It's not just about the work. Oftentimes we put a focus on women's entrepreneurship and all we want to do is increase the volume or the value of the goods and services they're providing, and this is a mistake. The real transformational change comes when money is put into the hands of women. We need to follow that value chain right to the end. We need to think through not only the product, but who's producing it and where, into whose hand the money goes at the end of the day. It's very important.
Urbanization is not a bad thing, but you've got to shoot for self-sufficiency in being able to feed yourself. The basic thing to survive in society is self-sufficiency in food, pure water, drink potable water, enough water to irrigate the fields, and some infrastructure of transportation so you get it from the farm to the market. So you've got to have at least that. Urbanization, if it's drawing surplus people off of the farms, is fine, as long as you can support them when they get to the urban areas. If you're taking them out of a country that isn't self-sufficient in agriculture, and you're drawing them to urban areas for whatever reason, that's not so good. You have to make more investment in the rural areas to make it more attractive to stay put.
So it's necessary in order to give space to artisans to take strong national policies. And you have to take those policies not only from the viewpoint of employment or income generation, but also as a point of view of inclusion. The inclusion of artisans or women into the labor market is very important in order to give those people not only employment, but also make them better and more active parts of the society.
The villagers of Prek Chrey are in a unique position with a great challenge in front of them. The organza silk products are one of a kind, but that doesn't guarantee anything in today's global economy. For the time being, what they need most of all is a chance to compete and earn their own sustainability. Then the rest follows.
When you go to one of these communities on the island of Prek Chrey, people are balanced. Yes, they don't have the same house, they don't have the cars, but they have, in fact, they live an environmentally much more balanced life than we do. They need clean drinking water, they need good sanitation, they need a way to handle their rubbish, they need basic health care and education. These are real needs. Not everyone has to live in the same fancy houses what we Westerners think is the norm. Not everyone has to have flashy cars running around the roads.
However, one thing we all want is to live a meaningful life where what we do is valued. Prek Chrey, like countless other communities around the world, is fighting to compete in a marketplace that isn't suited for the needs of individuals. We must remember, the inhabitants of Prek Chrey are not just fighting for the future, but also for the present. This kind of change does not happen overnight, and it is real people and families that are struggling to survive at this very moment. In a world of ever-changing landscapes, it is with no small sense of irony that their future can only be saved by using the time-honored traditions of their past.
ទោះតែខ្ញុំលេងដើររួចខ្ញុំបដិញ្ញាថាបើសិនជាខ្ញុំលេងដើររួចហើយខ្ញុំ